This is an anthology horror series of 8 standalone stories. You can listen in any order you like. So, a man gets into a serious car accident and wakes up in a hospital, but something's off, like dead silent. No nurses rushing around, no machines beeping, just pure, eerie silence. And the weirdest part? Every doctor and nurse he sees is soaking wet, like just crawled out of a swamp wet. They brush it off, saying a pipe burst. Sure, Jan. And apparently, he's the only patient there. No footsteps in the hallway, no voices, just an empty, echoing corridor. That night, a nurse gives him one single rule: don't leave your room after midnight. Guess what he does? Yep, lights up a cigarette. But suddenly, an old woman appears, his mom. She's got silver hair and the same sandals she used to beat him with as a kid. She scolds him for smoking, drops the sandal, and tells him, "If you ever realize your mistake, use these to punish yourself." Then she straight up vanishes. Spooked but stubborn, he rolls out into the hallway to sneak a smoke. The hospital? Still deserted. Lights dimmed, super haunted energy. The elevator opens, no one inside. Just a trail of wet footprints across the floor. He rolls in, tries to reach the rooftop button, and then looks up. A mannequin's face is staring down at him from the elevator ceiling, hanging upside down, casual. Then the elevator stops, 5th floor. An old man steps in, just stands there, doesn't say a word. When the guy tries to close the doors, the old dude blocks it, floating in midair, making rooster noises. No, seriously. Eventually, the old man speaks, says it's just part of physical therapy, totally normal. They start talking. The old man tells him a story, creepy hospital lore, about a nurse who got pushed too far. After a long night of caring for a nightmare patient, she went home and found her mother dead. Grief-stricken, she snapped, wheeled the patient into an elevator shaft under maintenance, and then took her own life. Both died the same day, which just so happens to be tonight. Ding! They hit the 9th floor. Doors open. There's a nurse standing there, except she has no face, just a black shadow, and her body sways like a puppet. The old man panics, yelling at him to shut the door, but it's jammed. He gets shoved out into the icy hallway, and there's a tall figure standing still. He creeps up. Turns out it's just a cardboard cutout. He's pissed, lights a cigarette right there. Bad idea. Suddenly, a cough. Red lights flood the hallway. The cutout starts moving. He bolts, jumps into another elevator. Inside are 2 doctors resuscitating a patient. Except when he looks up again, the doctors are gone. Just a body covered in a white sheet. Then it twitches. Then it sits up. The sheet slides off, revealing a rotting corpse face and black, decaying feet. Cue scream. Lights out. Next thing he knows, he's back in the hallway, soaked in sweat. No clue how he got there. A nurse rolls up, saying she'll take him back to his room. But she starts telling him the same ghost story the old man did. Only this time, she's telling it like she lived it. And when she turns to face him, her face is completely twisted. His wheelchair starts rolling toward the edge of the rooftop. Brakes don't work. At the last second, he jumps. Now limping with a broken leg, he hobbles down the stairwell. He looks over, the elevator opens, but there's no floor inside, just a dark pit. Out of nowhere, the old man reappears. He says there's no cure anymore, then lets go and falls into the void. The man looks over the edge, and the old man climbs back up, grabs his leg, begs him to save him. He panics, grabs the sandal his mother left, and beats him with it. Crack! His leg cast shatters. Suddenly, he wakes up, back in his hospital bed. His phone's blowing up with missed calls. He finally picks up. It's his sister. She's sobbing. Their mother died at the exact moment he had his accident. So now he's lying there, mind racing. If she was already dead, then who came to her room that night? And who left behind those old sandals? All right, story number 2 is straight up nightmare fuel for anyone who's ever found a deal too good to be true. So this chubby, happy-go-lucky guy just bought a fully furnished apartment for only 20 grand. Total steal. He moves in, grinning like he just won the lottery, and immediately starts live streaming to show off his new digs. Everything's fine until the viewers flood the chat. Yo, what's that shadow behind you? He laughs it off. Ain't no way I bought a haunted apartment by accident, he says. To calm them down, he spins the camera around, but the look on his face changes instantly. Something freaked him out. Before he can say a word, a woman touches his shoulder. Turns out it's just the next-door neighbor. Says she saw his door open and came to say hi. But that shadow earlier, it was definitely a man, not her. Still, he shrugs it off. Haunted or not, a full apartment for $20K? He's staying. That night, 8 p.m. on the dot, he goes live again. And the chat is still blowing up about that shadow. Then, click. The door creaks open. He asks the viewers, did y'all hear that? The chat, yes. Maybe it's just the walls being thin, he thinks, or maybe the neighbor again. He keeps streaming, talking about some book he's reading, completely unaware that the shadow has returned. And the chat is losing it. Turn around, bro, turn around. He finally checks, nothing there. But the stream still shows the shadow. And this time, it's casually opening his fridge. He turns back, fridge door swinging open. He nopes out and runs straight to the neighbor's place. She's calm, too calm. She tells him the story. The last owner, a workaholic who died in a car crash on the way home. But his ghost never realized he died. So now, every night at 8 p.m., he comes home as if nothing happened. Every tenant since has seen him, and tonight, it's his turn. But our guy's like, nope, still not leaving. I'll just get a priest to cleanse the place. Cool idea. Except, the very next night, the sounds return. Too terrified to stream, he hides under the blanket. Classic move. Ghosts can't hurt me under here, he thinks. But he forgot one key thing. Ghosts also have bedtime routines. Whatever that ghost used to do before bed, yeah, he's still doing it. Our guy freaks out, runs down to sleep in the lobby. Next morning, another neighbor gives him a chilling heads up. The previous owner was Catholic. A Buddhist ritual's not gonna work. Now he's panicking, but still too cheap to move. So he comes up with a plan. He'll just leave the apartment before 8 p.m. every night. The day's his, the night's the ghost's, roommate rules, done. But then, the neighbor calls, and she says something that freezes him solid. That won't work. The ghost doesn't come home at night. He leaves at night. Those noises at 8 p.m., that wasn't the ghost arriving. That was him leaving for his shift. Turns out, the man was a night shift worker. Every morning, he'd wake up, open the fridge, eat breakfast, wash up, then head out. Shift started at 8 p.m., ended at 6 a.m. Now it's 6:30 a.m., which means the ghost just got back home, changed, washed up, and is getting ready for bed. Our guy slowly turns around and hears something on the bed behind him. He lifts the camera, and there it is. A man, pale, dead-eyed, lying in his bed. His face slowly turns to look at him, and they both scream in terror. Third story begins with a sweet girl video calling her crush, a quiet, handsome guy with soft eyes and a weird Wi-Fi connection. Everything's chill until she notices something weird. Face filters start popping up on the screen. You know, dog ears, sunglasses, sparkles. But here's the catch. Those filters only activate when there's a face, and there was no one else in the frame. When the guy walks off screen, The filters keep showing up. That's when her smile disappears. She nervously calls his name. He comes back, all normal, but she doesn't have the courage to tell him what she just saw. Instead, she tells a coworker, and her coworker, without missing a beat, just says, "Stay away from him. Something's not right." Later, she finds out the guy lives in a cursed house on her street. No big deal, just your standard haunted property once owned by a shaman who went to prison. No one's touched it in years, except him. But she's not afraid. Nah, she likes him. They met at the convenience store where she works. She even visits him sometimes to help clean up. That's when she sees it, a massive termite mound inside the house. Gross. But he decides to clean it out and finds something worse, a voodoo doll buried inside. After that, a strange rash appears on his neck. She assumes it's just an allergy, offers to help move his stuff in. But as she steps into the house, a white sheet behind her gently shifts. She doesn't notice. Still crushing hard, she believes if she's kind and patient, he'll like her back. One night, during another video call, the filters are back. But this time, the faces are making creepy expressions right next to him. She tells her coworker again, gets the same answer. Let it go. But she can't. Another girl's been flirting with him too, and she's not about to miss her chance. So she goes to his house after work. The rash on his face has gotten worse, but he still looks good to her. They chat. She's ready to give him her number. But as she steps out of the room, she hears him talking. Let her come upstairs. I'm sure she'll say yes. She leans closer to listen. Then, suddenly, nothing. Just snoring. Before she can process it, a hand grabs her from behind and yanks her down the stairs. She wakes up in the basement, lying next to him. But something's changed. His eyes aren't right anymore. He pulls out the voodoo doll and says, "I'm going to trap your soul inside this." She tries to run. He grabs her by the throat and begins to choke her. She's gasping, about to pass out, when suddenly a candle's flame touches the doll's hand. He screams in pain and loosens his grip. She bolts. But then a group of figures in white cloth rush toward her. She screams and wakes up. It was all just a nightmare, or so she thinks. She had only fallen down the stairs. The guy's right there, looking concerned. But this time, she doesn't trust his sweet face. He offers her a necklace, puts it gently around her neck, and then his hands tighten. Stay with me, forever, inside the doll. She's choking, red-faced, clawing at the necklace. And then she sees it, the voodoo doll. She snaps its arm. His arm breaks too. He screams. She runs. He chases. She snaps the doll's leg. He collapses. Before leaving, she breaks the doll's waist, just to be sure, and calls the police. But what they tell her chills her to the bone. The boy? He'd been dead for days. Died the same day he unearthed the voodoo doll. Since then, the one she'd been texting, visiting, calling, wasn't him. It was the doll possessing a corpse. That rash? Not an allergy, just good old-fashioned decomposition. She's heartbroken. She really liked him. But now she knows not every pretty face belongs to a good person. Sometimes it doesn't even belong to someone alive. The fourth story begins with a little girl who often talks to thin air. Her mother, puzzled by the behavior, shares it online. A viewer comments that the girl might be speaking with a ghost. The mother, a skeptic when it comes to the supernatural, brushes it off. She assumes her daughter simply invented an imaginary friend, just like many kids do. But the conversation turns into a heated debate. The viewer insists that children can see things adults cannot. He even suggests a method. If you don't believe me, bend down and look at the world upside down between your legs. You'll see the shadows that are usually hidden. At first, the mother finds it ridiculous. But as her daughter's behavior grows stranger, she begins to waver. Eventually, she tries it, bends down, looks through her legs, and sees nothing. Feeling silly, she laughs it off. But when she opens the fridge door, a blurry silhouette appears next to her daughter. The girl calmly looks in that direction and whispers, "Mommy's nicer to me than Grandma." Turns out, due to work, the mother had once sent her daughter to live with her grandmother for a while. Only recently had she brought her back. That same day, the mother noticed something was off. In the car, the little girl kept talking to thin air, saying her friend was sitting in the back seat. Brushing it off as childhood imagination, the mother paid no mind, until she noticed bruises on her daughter's arms, marks that wouldn't fade. From that moment, something sinister began following the child. A week passed. The mother began to witness odd behavior. Her daughter made loud noises upstairs, pulled down all the curtains, and left the bedroom in disarray. Thinking the girl was hiding under the bed, the mother placed some food beside it and walked away. Later, she stepped on a toy and returned to call her daughter to clean up, but received no answer. Curious, she bent down to look under the bed. Just then, her phone rang. She went out to answer and found her daughter standing quietly in the corner of the room. She had never been under the bed. So, what was? The mother rushed back to the room with a broom, pulled up the bed cover, and found only moldy food and toys. When she asked her daughter why she hid food there, the girl simply said, "It wasn't me. My best friend did it." The mother gently explained, "No matter how close you are, if they make the house dirty, they need to leave." Suddenly, a lamp fell off a nearby shelf. The mother paid no attention, but her daughter glanced upward toward the air conditioner. That night, strange noises came from the daughter's room. The mother entered and saw a ball bouncing by itself across the floor. Assuming her daughter was playing, she scolded her. Frightened, the girl begged to sleep with her mother. As the mother left the room, a pale hand reached out from under the bed and picked up the ball. The next morning, the house was a complete mess again. Frustrated, the mother went looking for her daughter. The girl asked her to play hide and seek. When the mother lifted the red play tent, a hand grabbed her face from behind, feeling around her nose like it wanted to gouge it out. She jumped back in horror. But the real shock came next. Her daughter wasn't in the tent. She was curled up, shaking inside a closet, muttering, "I'm scared of her." That night, the daughter insisted on sleeping with her mother. She agreed. Once the child fell asleep, the mother went to the living room to live stream. She asked her viewers for advice. One suggested, "The girl may be possessed. Children under 5 are vulnerable to evil spirits. If the parents aren't careful, their child could be in danger." Still doubtful, the mother received a private message from the same viewer. He told her about his niece, who had a similar experience and died under mysterious circumstances, covered in bruises. A fortune teller had explained that those bruises were marks, signs that the spirit had chosen her. The mother now remembered her daughter's strange bruises. She searched for a prayer bead necklace the grandmother had once given them, but she had never let the child wear it, not believing in superstition. While still hesitating, another noise echoed from the child's room. She rushed in and found her daughter curled under the bed, crying, begging for mercy. When she pulled her out, the girl pointed behind her and said, "She threatened me." Terrified and angry, the mother snapped, "Don't ever mention that friend again." Still trying to deny the supernatural, she reviewed old videos her daughter had recorded while home alone. In one clip, a shadowy figure crawled behind the girl. Suddenly, the power went out. No more doubt. The mother dashed upstairs, drawn by strange noises from under the bed. She bent down and crawled in, only to be grabbed by a cold, ghastly hand as a monstrous growl filled the darkness. She fled to another room, but her daughter's scream from downstairs brought her back. The girl was possessed, devouring a pastry filled with live maggots. The mother realized if the child finished the pastry, her soul would be lost forever. Desperate, she fought to stop her, despite being bitten. She managed to retrieve the prayer beads and wrapped them around her daughter's neck. The girl convulsed, writhed, and vomited out a thick black clump of blood. After that, she returned to normal. The mother blamed herself. From that day on, she devoted more time to her daughter, hoping to protect her from future harm. But what she didn't know was that when the friend disappeared, another presence, even darker, was drawing near. And that's where the story ends. This fifth story kicks off with a man snagging a house for way too cheap. And if horror has taught us anything, it's that a too good to be true price tag means run, don't sign. On his first day there, a chilling gust snuffs out his lighter. He doesn't think much of it, but what he doesn't see is the shadowy figure watching him from upstairs. His wife is pregnant, and he's trying to save money for the baby, so he keeps a key detail to himself: the house's haunted past. Smart move? Not really. That night, his wife wakes up to a creepy melody playing somewhere in the house. She gets up to check, sees something dart past the doorway, and yeah, her husband, still snoring. She searches alone. Nothing's there, or so she thinks. The next morning, she spots a red blotch on the balcony wall. She peels back the wallpaper and finds a drawing: two childlike figures holding hands. Creepy, but whatever, right? But as her husband keeps working late, she starts to feel something behind her, something cold, watching, reaching. She tells him she's scared. He tells her it's all in her head. Big mistake. Later, he finds a headless doll on the balcony, kicks it away like it's trash, and just like that, he's cursed. Soon after, he hears scratching from the storage room. He opens a mysterious box, and ghostly hands choke him from behind. That same night, his wife wakes up gasping, sensing something's wrong. She hits the internet and uncovers the dark truth. This house once belonged to a dancer, betrayed and robbed by the man she loved. With nowhere to go, she hanged herself using steel wire. And over time, the wire cut clean through her neck. When her husband doesn't come home, the wife is left spiraling alone. Then, one night, she hears the washing machine running. She opens it. Inside is a severed, blood-soaked head spinning with the laundry. Just then, her best friend arrives and pulls her out of the spiral. But here's the twist. This best friend has secretly been in love with her for years. He hates the husband, always has. The husband shows up later, smiling, too friendly. Way off. Something's not right. Then she finds a notebook filled with drawings, the same red stick figures from the wall. It's a diary of the dancer, and somehow it belongs to her husband. Suddenly, that eerie melody starts again. She grabs a flashlight and heads down the hall, but then she trips. Standing before her is her husband in full dancer costume, mid-performance, possessed. She collapses, terrified and very pregnant. When she wakes, he's dragging her across the floor. There's already a noose prepared. She breaks free and locks herself in a room, frantically calling her best friend. But he's driving, no signal. 10 silent minutes pass. She opens the door, and he lunges. Hands at her throat, he slams her into the wall. She kicks and fights, finally shoving him down the stairs. But then, a stabbing pain. She's going into labor. The best friend races back and finds her just in time. She escapes. The baby is born safe. The next day, her husband wakes up, totally blank. The last thing he remembers? Opening that box. The dancer's ghost had used his jealousy, his resentment toward the best friend, to take over. They burn all the dancer's things, sell the house, move far away. But just when she thinks it's over, she opens the old notebook again. It's filled with rants, hatred, paranoia, all about her best friend, all written before the possession. Then, behind her, her husband's voice. "What are you looking at?" She turns. He smiles, that same unnatural, crooked smile. And that's when she realizes the nightmare never really ended. Story number 6. A young woman finds an old antique stool just sitting outside her front door. No note, no explanation, just there. She thinks nothing of it, brings it inside. Big mistake. That night, while lying in bed, she feels someone gently massaging her back. 2 hands, soft, rhythmic. She assumes it's her roommate and drifts off. But what she doesn't realize is those hands were pitch black. The next morning, she wakes up alone. The bed beside her is untouched. Just as she's about to text her roommate, the front door opens. Her friend walks in, groggy from a night shift, and heads straight to bed. And that's when the horror hits her. If her friend never came home last night, then who the hell was in bed with her? Suddenly, she feels something weird around her waist, lifts her shirt. There it is, a blackened handprint seared into her skin. Then, without warning, the stool rockets across the room, slamming into the front door. She panics and wakes her roommate, but by the time they return, the stool is back in its place, like nothing happened. Her roommates had enough. Thinking it's all in her head, she books a hotel for the night and leaves. Now she's alone, and the fear sets in. Inspecting the stool, she notices burn marks along the edge, like someone once tried to destroy it. Suddenly, she knocks over a can of white paint. At first, silence. Then, footprints begin forming in the wet paint, one after another, getting closer. Then, a freezing wind hits her like a slap. She bolts out of the house. Later, at a hotel, she meets with an old friend and tells them everything. Together, they dig into the stool's history and find something disturbing. It once belonged to a woman burned alive by her husband. Now, her spirit clings to the stool and haunts anyone who possesses it. The darker the handprints on your body, the closer you are to death. She suspects someone wanted this to happen, someone who planted the stool. And there's only one person that fits. Her best friend's jealous boyfriend, who always accused her of trying to steal his girl. She confronts him. He denies everything. Her friend warns her. Everyone who's ever had the stool ended up dead. She rushes back to the apartment, terrified for her best friend, and that's when she sees it. The ghost, swaying, waiting. She shines her phone flashlight, and it's right behind her. A cough. She turns, thinking it's her friend. Instead, she walks straight into the ghost's path. Suddenly, the lights flick on, her best friend's back. She pulls her out of the house. But just when they think they're safe, they look at her best friend's hands. They're turning black. Panicking, the girl tries to wash it off, and it smears like paint. That's when her friend breaks down. She confesses. She put the stool outside the door. She wanted to end their friendship, but when she realized the curse was real, she came back to help. Now they know what they have to do. According to legend, the curse can only be broken if the spirit gets a new sacrifice. So they call the boyfriend back, tell him it's a kinky surprise. They tie him to the stool, make it look like a game. He's all smiles until the ghost shows up. Suddenly, the lights flicker, the air turns cold, and the spirit drags him away screaming. His fate? Unknown. But the curse? Broken. And the stool? Gone. Story 7. The Restaurant in the Woods. 2 young men had just moved into a remote company dorm nestled deep in the forest. One was smooth-talking, always cracking jokes. The other, more relaxed and aloof, had earned the nickname Playboy at work. Neither of them liked cooking, and both were lazy in their own ways, usually surviving on just 1 meal a day. But after moving into this forest-side dorm, something changed. They started getting hungry late at night. Starving, and with no convenient store or cafeteria nearby, they had no choice but to wander the woods in search of food. That's when they found it, a tiny, dimly lit restaurant hidden deep in the forest. It looked like it had no business being there. Inside were 2 owners, a quiet, expressionless married couple who never smiled. Playboy felt uneasy the moment he saw them, but his jokester friend, too hungry to care, insisted they stay and eat. The couple brought out a steaming dish, but it was dripping in something thick and red. Playboy's stomach churned. He excused himself to find the bathroom, but instead followed a thin, smeared trail of blood along the floor. It led him to a locked door, and from underneath, blood was seeping out. Before he could react, his friend appeared behind him, calm as ever. Strangely, he saw nothing. No blood, no smell, no weird vibes. Moments later, the owner opened the door. Inside, just an old, messy storage room. Back at the table, Playboy stared at the food. He couldn't tell what kind of meat it was. Something inside it moved, twitched, crawled. But his friend? He devoured it like it was the best meal of his life. That night, Playboy heard violent coughing from the next room, like someone choking up their lungs. Then came pounding on his door. Desperate, panicked, he screamed for help. Suddenly, his friend's voice called out from the hallway, completely calm. "You're just dreaming, man." From that night on, his friend returned to the creepy restaurant every evening. Meanwhile, Playboy grew more disturbed. His friend became different, distant, obsessed. One night, while searching for him, Playboy spotted a woman standing alone on a muddy path. She looked lost, so he stopped and offered her a ride on his electric scooter. The moment he spoke to her, she vanished. The next morning, he told his friend, but instead of being freaked out, his friend shrugged and said, "That was probably a seduction ghost. They lure men in." He even told a story he'd heard once. A man had gone on the radio, begging for help to find his missing daughter. A kind stranger had offered her a ride, but halfway home, she vanished. They later learned she died long before that encounter. That tale stuck with Playboy. Combined with how strange his friend was acting, it all felt too real. Then, one day, their boss called him in. His friend hadn't shown up for work. No calls, no messages, just gone. Terrified, Playboy jumped on his scooter and rode deep into the woods. There it was, his friend's scooter parked in front of the restaurant. But something was off. The restaurant looked abandoned now. Weeds had taken over. The wooden sign was rotting. Moss covered the walls. Inside, cobwebs hung from the ceiling. Dust thickened the air. Then he found an old family photo on the floor. The girl in the photo was the muddy woman he had seen on the road. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was his friend, whispering in a panic. He was trapped inside the storage room, begging to be let out. Playboy rushed to the door and flung it open. Empty. No one was there. Shaken, he grabbed the photo and ran to his boss, demanded they call the police. That's when the boss sighed and told him the truth. Years ago, the couple who ran the restaurant had a daughter. One day, she vanished. Her father had gone on the radio, begging for help. Eventually, they found her body. She'd been murdered by a regular customer. The parents went mad. They began to believe every new diner was a killer, so they killed them first and served their flesh to the next guests. After several murders, the couple took their own lives inside the restaurant. But their spirits never left. They stayed, feeding off wanderers who found their place. And the ghost Playboy saw? That was their daughter, still trying to return home. Playboy knew what he had to do. He returned to the muddy road and found her again. She stood there, silently. Softly, he said, "Your father's still looking for you. If you get on this bike, I'll take you home." She climbed onto the back seat. He didn't dare look behind him. The wind turned cold. He felt wet drops, blood, hitting his back. Her broken, mangled form slowly materialized, just as she had looked when she died. Then, headlights, a truck, a crash. Silence. Playboy opened his eyes. He was standing, somehow okay. In front of him, the ghost girl, finally home. her father standing beside her, tears in his eyes. And then, his friend. Alive. Saved. The curse broken. But something wasn't right. His friend looked down and froze. Because there, lying in the middle of the road, was Playboy's body, lifeless. The one who had helped bring the girl home wasn't him. It was the ghost of his best friend. Story 8. The Paper House. This story begins with a broke young woman, desperate to make ends meet. One day, out of nowhere, she gets a message from a stranger. They offer her $1,000 for just one day of work. No interview, no questions asked. All she has to do is look after an elderly woman in a remote house far outside the city. The money, wired to her in advance. Easy cash, no red flags. So, of course, she says yes. She follows the directions and ends up in the middle of nowhere, a misty road, a creepy house that looks like it fell out of a gothic horror novel. When she knocks, the door slowly creaks open, and a maid appears. Expressionless, dressed like she walked out of a different century. Silent. Immediately, something in the girl's gut says, "Get out." But the money was already in her account, so she pushes through. Inside, the house is dead silent. The maid doesn't move or speak. No signal, no internet, no contact with the outside world. And just then, she learns she's not staying one day. She has to stay 4. That's when she meets the old woman. She's not what the girl expected. She doesn't talk, doesn't blink, just lies there in bed, eyes glued to the ceiling. No response, no warmth, just an overwhelming sense of dread. Then, the maid silently appears and hands her a book. Turns out, her job is to read aloud to the old woman, every day until 7 p.m. Then the woman closes her eyes and sleeps. The maid shows the girl to her room, never saying a word. That first night, as she's about to sleep, she turns around and sees the old woman reaching out toward her from the doorway. Terrified, she backs away. The maid quietly closes the door, almost like she's locking it. Only after the girl whispers that she's hungry does the maid bring her food. She eats quickly, then tries to sleep. But at midnight, she's jolted awake by the sound of a child laughing. She remembers clearly there are no kids in this house. The sound echoes from downstairs. Nervous but curious, she tiptoes down. Suddenly, a hand reaches out from under the table. Then the laughter shifts to the cabinets. She opens them, shaking. They're empty. But she knows something is wrong. She's not alone. The maid suddenly appears and drags her back to her room. As they leave, the girl looks up and sees a child sitting on top of the staircase clock, watching. The next morning, she resumes reading to the old woman. Still, no reaction. She starts to feel a little sympathy. This was just a sick, helpless old woman, right? But then, while reading, she sees the woman's eyes shift. The water basin nearby turns dark red, like blood. The child's laughter echoes again, this time inside the room. And then she sees it. The child. It's pointing at the old woman. The girl looks closer. The woman's hands are rotting, decaying. Panicked, she knocks over the basin. The child doesn't vanish. Then, like a switch flipped, the maid enters. And just like that, the woman looks normal again. No rot, no blood, like nothing happened. She tries to shake it off as stress, a hallucination. But deep down, she knows. This place is wrong. Still, just one more day. She can survive one more day. But then, right before she's supposed to leave, the child appears again. This time, it speaks. "Will you stay with me?" She follows the child, unsure why. It leads her to the old woman's room. What she sees next makes her blood run cold. The old woman is floating in midair. Below her, a red bag. The girl grabs it and opens it. Inside are photos of her and her ex-boyfriend. Suddenly, the old woman twists her head around and speaks in the child's voice. The photos in her hands catch fire. Chants fill the room, voices calling her name. She bolts for her things, desperate to escape. But when she returns to her room, black stains have spread across the walls, like ink bleeding from the inside out. They're moving. She sprints down the stairs, heart pounding. The old woman is convulsing, then whispers, "Stay with me." A decaying hand grabs her arm. The smell is unbearable. She fights, screams, claws her way out. Suddenly, the child appears again, and this time it points. She follows. Next thing she knows, she's standing in the middle of the road. The house is gone. She's safe, but she hears chanting in the distance. She follows it and finds a group of people burning paper offerings, paper houses, paper maids, even paper children. It hits her all at once. The house she stayed in was a paper house, a funeral offering. The old woman? Dead. The maid, the child, all paper effigies. Then she sees them, her ex-boyfriend and his family, kneeling by the fire. They're performing a ritual, and right next to the old woman's photo is a picture of her. The girl finally understands. The old woman was his grandmother. She had always wanted to meet his future wife. She died before she got the chance. But in the afterlife, she came looking. At first, she just wanted to meet her. But then, she liked her, and she wanted to keep her. Forever. If it weren't for that child, that paper spirit showing her the way out, she might never have made it back. The story ends with one last image. The ashes glow. The shape of a woman slowly emerges, and from behind the smoke, a whisper, "Stay with me."